Hello and welcome to Gettable, afl.com.au's home of trade, draft, free agency and contract news. I'm Riley Beveridge. This is Cal Twomey. Cal, we are here thanks to our friends at Google. It's great to have Google on board in season 2025. We've got a massive episode coming up for you, all the latest trade, draft, free agency news. But Cal, we want to start because we wanted to give a big shout out to our Instagram page at Gettable. You got to follow us there.
Yeah, absolutely shameless here. So we're in for a big month. We're going to be everywhere over the next month. Trade radio will be happening. We'll be here on Gettable. We'll be doing the trade desk as well every single day, inside trading. But see behind the scenes of what we're doing over the next month. So you have to follow us on Gettable, at Gettable there on Instagram. And we're starting up a close friends. So we're close friends with all our viewers, but you have to tag yourself and also tag a mate in our comment section under one of our photos that we're about to put up. And if you tag yourself there, we'll add you to the close friends. Who knows what we'll get up to there.
BTS, maybe even some exclusives before anyone else across the course of the trade period. Before we get to our news though, Cal, let's get to our cover story because it is a big one this week. Cal Wilkie, will he or won't he, as it says there?
How the Dogs play for the Saints gun is setting a trend. Signed, sealed, traded, question mark. The value of contracts, we'll dig into that. This year's Clary, the draft star rising up the ranks and fire up the key defender carousel. It's getting busy. Let's start with the signed, sealed, traded section though, because the contracted players around the competition are the ones with all the attention at the moment. Some of these guys are wanting to move. Some of them are the subject of interest clearly from other clubs. Zach Merritt has been weighing up both. So he obviously has 2 years to go left on his contract at the Bombers. Essendon has been steadfast that he won't be leaving. Signed to the end of 2027. He's the captain clearly, about to win a 6th best and fairest at the footy club. Obviously, though, he's been toying with pushing for a move and whether he makes that call and the interest that's out there for him. Hawthorn heads the list of clubs pushing for him. The midfield trio of Merritt, Newcombe, Day is obviously appealing for them. The value of picks, though, from an Essendon point of view, though, in a draft where they already have 5 inside the top 25 is minimal. And it's not the draft to be going through that little period. They could do a mini Richmond already on the basis of their draft hand too. So the reality is Essendon has resolved not to trade him. That's their standpoint at the moment. He hasn't requested a trade, but clearly has been thinking about what the future lies for him and whether he's going to taste success at the Bombers.
It's an interesting one because the Hawks have been big game hunting, and we'll get to Christian Petrarca in just a little bit.
Just on Merritt though, this is where boards and PR teams and CEOs and influential people get involved, and these players do get bound by the badge to some degree. Jordan Ridley for me is a little bit different in that 4 years to go, but not the player of his calibre and elite status in terms of his career. So the Bombers are equally as adamant that he's not going anywhere. It's over to Brisbane to make an offer that makes them move.
And had some injury issues as well, has Jordan Ridley. What about Charlie Curnow? Another one contracted till 2029. As we've said right the way through, he's been flirting with a move all the way through this year. We know Sydney, Gold Coast and Geelong, the clubs who are keen on Charlie Curnow. How does it happen though, Cal?
Well, the signature is the shackle here. And this is the point where we talk about long-term deals and what it means for the player and what it means for the club. Yes, it provides the security for the player, but it also is a shackle if you want to move down the track. So in an ordinary world, he'd be in his 10th year, an unrestricted free agent, be able to walk to wherever he wants without even a second conversation. The difference between Curnow and Merritt is that Curnow, 6 weeks out from the season ending, made it clear that he wanted to move. Then on exit interview day, said, I want to be traded. So this is a little bit different to what Zach Merritt's going through, and that's why it is a situation that's different. Sydney remains in it for me. I think they'll be the club that in the end pushes hardest and longest to get a deal done. Carlton want good players if they're going to be involved in a deal, and that to me opens the door slightly. I think it opens the door to, okay, well, what's it going to be? You have to think about it at this point. Geelong, of course, is keen, and Gold Coast are looking at how they can do it, if at all. But Jed Walters, obviously a name that's been mentioned. They've had an offer to Jed Walters to extend over a long period of time now. I expect that offer to be revised and updated soon as well as they push to re-sign him beyond the end of next year and take him out of this conversation. But the economy of trading contracted players has become different. And this is a dual Coleman medalist, a star of the competition, and no club is saying, let's have him. It's a funny situation.
I think what makes this one fascinating is, as you touched on there, Carlton's been adamant that it wants genuine top liners, not just any players, top liners in return for Charlie Curnow. So the question for the likes of Sydney, Gold Coast and Geelong, if they do want to bring a Charlie Curnow into the football club, is how do we add to what we've got without getting rid of a top liner as well. What about Christian Petrarca? Contracted until 2029 as well. We know he had the move that we wanted last year, didn't get it. 12 months on, do you think it happens?
Well, another player who's chained to the contract, anchored in ink, I'm saying. So 4 years to go. I still think, I keep saying this, I still think this is a time where the split is better for both parties. This is my opinion. I think that at this point in time of his career, he's probably worthy of a fresh start elsewhere, and I think Melbourne could benefit with its trade hand and get some picks in the door to build on a midfield that is growing, and soon he won't be the number one player in that midfield or number two player in that midfield. So the appointment of a new coach clearly is going to have a big say on that. If Nathan Buckley gets this job, which is the favourite for, does he think he can get the best out of him? He did finish second in the best and fairest, of course, as well last night at the Demons. The Hawks are another club that I think would look at this situation. Clearly, they've been in this market for the top-end players. Zach Butters won't be going anywhere. Harley Reid, as we know, won't be... sorry. It's in the Harley Reid mention, just on the Harley Reid one. Hawthorn supporters were all over the fact they were in on him. I was like, yes, we're following, we're chasing him. And then we revealed that they had an 11-year deal and he didn't sign. It's like, oh, that can't be true. But what did you think you were offering him? A 3-year deal at $900,000? Come on. That was 100% accurate and still remains that way. Clayton Oliver, a little bit different to me for Christian Petrarca as well. But I think for Petrarca, if he moved, the clubs that could shift it are only Victorian and probably contenders. So it makes it hard.
He might be the last salvation for Hawthorn, given how many players they have chased this year as well. What about the two Saints boys here? We're about to...
There it is. We said it to be shameless.
Get ready for a couple of them throughout the show. I bet you any money. All right, let's get to the two Saints boys. Let's start with Cal Wilkie. We reported on afl.com.au last week that the Western Bulldogs had made a significant play for Cal Wilkie. We believe that's a 4-year deal in excess of $1 million per season. He's contracted through till 2027 at the Saints. Where do you reckon this one sits at the moment?
This assault by the Dogs is modern trade warfare. I love it. So, and we've got to see more of this in the game because it gives us more to talk about for a start. But I love the gamesmanship as well. That hang on, okay, we lost out on Jack Silvani, who's gone to that club. Let's go and find a key defender who's at that club on less than what Jack Silvani's going to get to go to that footy club as well, the Saints. So look, he's got 2 years to go. Does it end up being an improved deal down the track? What does that look like? At the moment, he's kind of tied to those terms, obviously. But again, the power of the contract for the club is that they hold the whip hand. They don't have to do anything if they don't want to, but also he might be worthy of that extra build-up as well. I don't see him moving, but it's a throw at the stumps from the Dogs ultimately.
And what I like from the Dogs is it's a really targeted approach in terms of who they want. They want the best of the best. They're not interested in Mitch McGovern. They're not interested in any of these guys that have been linked to him over the last couple of weeks in terms of just any old key defender. They want best of the best. They want Cal Wilkie. That's the play they've made here.
All right, Rowan Marshall is another one from the Saints, clearly with the contract there. This is the other side to the contract security too. I mean, again, he's a ruckman. They brought in another ruckman, but they have the control over the trade. I think you'd have to get a top 15 to 18 pick, I think, if you're going to be potentially open the door to Rowan Marshall leaving. Has interest clearly from the Cats. It'd have to be that 3-year mark, I think, if he's going to go there, and probably at the 900 type of money and around that sort of point. So that is a watch this space, as is Sam Flanders. Signed for 2 more years. Clubs are lining up for him in Victoria. Carlton, Melbourne, St Kilda among them. I expect a couple of others to put their hand up too in the Flanders basket. So he will go through that process, I believe, once the Gold Coast season is finished. I think there's a strong likelihood that he looks pretty closely at moving. He hasn't met with any clubs yet, but wanted to get through the Suns season. So that's where that one sits. One of the premium midfield options on the trade table potentially.
It could have helped the Suns as well. We know they're about to bring in Ezekiel and Dylan Patterson, a lot of academy players coming through. Could they figure out a way where it helps them match some draft points?
That is signed, sealed.
I like the bleached hair on Sam Flanders, by the way.
I'm shocked you like that.
I like the bleached hair. Might have to go back to that. All right, we are heading back to the desk now. There we go. Follow us on Gettable. You can keep doing that right the way through.
If you haven't already, close friends.
Close friends. Some great content already coming up there this morning. All right, we're about to get to another one of our favourite segments. It is Quick Fix. We're going to run through some topics now, Cal, and we will start with Compo Waite. The Dons are sweating on the Sam Draper pick.
Yeah, they are. He made official this week that he will be leaving the Bombers and going to another club. He didn't nominate whether it was Adelaide or Brisbane. As we revealed back in June, the Lions were one of the clubs hunting him really, really closely, and that has clearly become the favourite here. They are favoured to land Sam Draper on what I believe and reported is a 5-year offer with a trigger for a 6. Now, the trigger element doesn't impact the compensation. It's only what guaranteed money is in the deal. So that's the 5-year deal. I believe it's going to be very close to Band 1 territory. If it's Band 2, there's not much in it. So clearly Essendon are hoping that it's going to be Band 1. Others will say it's not going to be quite at that level. That's a wait and see, but it's going to be tight. I'm not saying it's one way or the other. I think it's going to be tight, though. Essendon would have picks 4, 5, 6 and 2 picks in the 20s if it went that way.
It's quite nice, isn't it?
Or 5, 6, 7 after the Oscar Allen one comes in. But Band 2 would be end of first round. Again, it's 5 picks inside the first 25 or so. They can do that mini Richmond rebuild, target their draft after what was a good draft the last couple of years. In a year where Adam Swade and the weekend hustler, Hussein Al-Lashkar, the bids coming for them sort of around that 20 mark.
It could be a very good draft for them. Have 4, 5 and 6 and then 2 really good academy prospects coming through, as you mentioned. Draft watch, Cal, the prospect who has come from the clouds, because one man has certainly come from the clouds. He's been great the last couple of weeks.
Can we get a bolter alert? We need a bolter alert going because there it is. Sullivan Roby is the bolter of this year's draft. Now, let's have a look at some of his vision because this guy has shot up the draft board in recent weeks. The Eastern Rangers prospect, been dominating, has pushed his name right into that top 10 to 15 range now, I believe. This guy was everyone's best kept secret until he wasn't. A lot of clubs had him tucked away thinking this was a guy that no one else is watching. In the end, everyone was watching him. Now he might even be a top 10 pick contender. I think his rise up the board has Clayton Oliver vibes to it back in 2015. Only played 7 games to the Rangers. He started as a high half forward, a connected type of player, 192 centimetres, but the past 2 weeks has moved into the midfield, had 40 disposals and 3 goals a couple of weeks ago. I was there for that game. He was dominant. And then last weekend had 27 touches and 2 goals. So clubs are all over him. He's had 12 interviews so far. That'll get to 18, I reckon, over the next month or so. He is the big player and the big riser in this year's pool. All right. Moving on. Lock it down. Which players are on the key defender carousel?
Well, it's going to be one that's obviously going to be headlined by Cal Wilkie, as we mentioned, and a couple of others, Jack Silvani, Lek Alir. But one player the clubs have inquired about is Jordan Butts from Adelaide over the last couple of weeks. Hasn't been able to get back in the Crows side after that punctured lung late in the season. He was an emergency for their qualifying final loss against Collingwood on Thursday night. Now, he's contracted for 2026. So the question then is, a bit like with the ruck merry-go-round, Cal, why would Adelaide let him go unless it is potentially a really good offer for them? Because then you have to chase another one. If you lose a key defender, you have to chase another one. But clubs are still asking the question about Jordan Butts. Tyler Young's also got some interest. There's going to be some more bargain basement options, as we know. Joel Hamling, Jaden Laverde, Sam Frost in amongst that as well.
Another name I'm keeping an eye on is Anthony Caminiti. So he's contracted to the end of next year at the Saints, but clearly the Saints are bringing in 2 key defenders. Collingwood has had a look at Caminiti as they look at that area of the ground. So the Pies obviously missed out on Jack Silvani. Again, we talk about the carousel. What does that mean? Contracted at the Saints for another year. I don't think they'd be looking to let him go, but that's one that Collingwood has had a look at amongst other options.
I think Tyler Young might be another one in the Pies sights as a potential bargain basement buy. Son in demand, Cal. Where will Braden Fiorini play in 2026? Because he's revitalised his career this year.
Absolutely. It's a great story, isn't it? I know Michael Whiting was on the plane to the Gold Coast. And he did mention that Fiorini's just as good a story as David Swallow in many ways in sticking around at the Suns. But Gold Coast wants it to be at the Suns with Braden Fiorini next year. He's got a 2-year offer to remain there at the club, but he's an unrestricted free agent, and Port Adelaide and Essendon are also interested, likely have that potentially longer-term deal on the table for him if he did choose to move. But he's 28, has played 17 games this year after breaking back into the side mid-season, so a great story there, and a free agent now with some decisions to make as those 2 clubs pursue him.
Ring the bell, Cal. The trade period unofficially opens. Is that the Pullman?
That's the Pullman. 13 clubs were there yesterday at the Pullman Hotel in Melbourne. Early trade discussions. These conversations weren't huge in detail or depth, but a little bit of speed dating, as we call it. Generally, they're about probably 3 things. How many picks are going to use? Is this player or that player out of contract? and what are you doing with X or Y potentially in terms of your list spots and these type of things, upgrades. So the sense of the day broadly, though, was that there aren't going to be a stack of clubs having huge amounts of picks in this year's draft, which is what I've been saying all along about this year's group, that clubs aren't that keen in investing big numbers of selections on it. A lot of second and third round picks, I think, will be up for grabs to see if they can be moved into the future, which does work for some clubs as they go points hunting.
It does.
We'll see if Dom Ambrosio gets out the points hunter.
Points hunter at the Pullman.
At the Brisbane Lions. Clubs don't do too much talking to each other at this point of the year, though. It's all through the managers and agents.
Question for you: what's your favourite story to write every year? Is it the Pullman story, or is it the first ruck merry-go-round story of the year?
That one's pretty close. I do like the what other ones are the annual ones? I do a lot.
There's a lot.
Just rehash.
Devil, Cal, who will be Tassie's first signing?
Well, the process to sign up VFL players for Tasmania is underway. 2 names the Devils have been looking at.
Ooh.
We can say this could potentially be historic.
The first Devils.
It's like that little.
Oh, don't keep them waiting.
Tiger, ex-Tiger Camden McIntosh and ex-Saint Jimmy Webster, a couple that have been reached out to in recent times. So both just out of the system. They're type of players with experience over more than a decade at their clubs. Be great fits, I think. So a couple of names who are in the mix there. If they want to be a part of that Devils VFL side next year, I think they'd be good gets.
They would be. Some experience as well, some potentially player coaching roles in amongst that. All right, Cal, we're going to get to another Instagram promo. Surely. Can we get one more up? Come on, let's go. Here we go.
One more, you reckon?
One more.
There we
go. We got there, Reg.
If you didn't get it, you should be following us now.
And there it is there, 2 T's.
Get on Close Friends.
Don't forget that. All right, Cal, we have a very loyal fan base here at Gettable.
They're all about to follow us.
And they'll all be familiar with Askable, which is one of our favourite segments where you send in your questions and we answer them. But in huge trade news, possibly the biggest of the year, we can reveal that Askable has partnered with longtime friend of the show, Google, to change its name to Searchable.
Searchable.
There we go. We're now Searchable. So to be clear, we still strongly encourage that you send in your questions and we will still answer them almost every week. But before we get into it each week, we'll be using Google's trending search data to throw a question at Cal. We'll see how much knowledge Cal has in his memory bank. So Cal, we've seen the 2021 draftees become contenders as the very next super draft. Mac Andrew was clutch against Freo on the weekend, kicked that winning goal. Nick Dacos, outstanding as always against the Crows, and the list goes on and on. So we want to know which player from the 2021 draft, Cal, was the most searched for since they've entered the AFL system.
Well, there was the Hornet at number 1. There was Sam Darcy at number 2. Finn Callahan. Nick Dacos should have been number 1, but whatever. And then it's a great draft. There's Josh Rochelle who's in there. Mac Andrew is in there. I mean,
the most searched for.
The most searched for player has to be Nick Dacos, doesn't it, my man?
Surely.
Has to be.
There we go. So Nick Dacos, he's clearly number 1. Sam Darcy, number 2. Mac Andrew, 3. Tom Brown.
Tom Brown. There you go.
Wow.
Was there a bit of mistaken identity in those searches?
It might have been Tom Brown building a nice career for himself, though. All right, let's get to Searchable, though. You can search us your questions at our Instagram page at Gettable. Billy, if you haven't already realised that, Billy wants to know, place a trade value on the players who have already requested moves.
Let's go with the Saints first. So Liam Ryan revealed on the weekend, confirmed his interest in going to St Kilda. He's contracted for 2029, for 2026, sorry. He's about to turn 29. For me, it's somewhere between a future second and future third.
Yeah. And the Saints don't have a current second round pick, so I think it has to be one of those. But it begs an interesting question because Leclerc, I think, is probably in a similar market value. So what would he be worth if they only have one second round pick? Well, they've got 2 actually, because you can trade your 27.
I think Leclerc for me is probably that third round option. Yeah.
So you reckon
he's played 25 games, 4 years.
Was a first round pick.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting one. They're both interesting ones. What about Campbell Chesser? Because we know he has requested a trade to Carlton, as you and Nathan Schmook reported earlier this week.
Another difficult one to put a value on, given he's just started going in for West Coast. How am I going? Look.
Well, Carlton have 34 and 44 this year, as the things stand.
Yeah, and 34 probably pushes back to about 40.
Yeah.
So I'd say about that.
Yeah, I agree there. Has anyone else requested a move?
Well, Liam Reedy will get to Carlton, I believe, as their TDK replacement, as we revealed on the show a couple of weeks ago. Will Brodie will request the trade as well to Port Adelaide from Fremantle. So he has a year to run on his deal. I don't think there's going to be too much trade negotiation on that type of one. And not a trade request, given he's a free agent, but Charlie Spargo is looking increasingly likely to leave Melbourne and go to North Melbourne as an unrestricted free agent. So I think that one's gathering some pace. He's got a decision to make over the next little bit.
Like it from you, Cal. All right, Jacob wants to know any news on where Alex Davies will be. He was great on the weekend.
Yeah, I think he stays at Gold Coast now. So he's keen to stay, has broken into the Suns lineup, played the last 7 games of the season and contracted for next year. So did look around, was open to moving. There wasn't a club that's saying, like, come here, we'll give you a longer term deal. I think he stays.
Hal wants to know, do any pre-agents move this year?
Well, Liam Ryan is actually a pre-agent.
Yes, he is.
So, yes. But Zach Butters, no. I mean, we've said this all year, no. Sam Walsh, no, this year, but it will take time in making up his decision. Zach Bailey, we spoke about last week. I got Essendon supporters all excited about that one. Did make it very clear.
Fire him up.
Did make it very clear though that this is going to be for next year. And
don't let that get in the way.
It's not a certainty.
Don't let that get in the way.
The deal's going to be the biggest they've ever offered anybody. So and that certainly is there. Ben King is a no for me. Could anyone look at Justin McInerney? Could he be a part of any move if Sydney has to trade anyone? But I don't think there's going to be too many pre-agents on the way, particularly at that top end.
And Jack Buckley taken off that pre-agency list on Tuesday night. Cameron wants to know, can we have a Cal Archie update? Still unsigned.
Still unsigned. I believe more likely to head to Adelaide than stay at Brisbane at this point, out of contract. When you're in the semi-final, when you've got a good option on the table, I think that spells move.
Yes, when he hasn't signed that. And it's
strong offer
on
there.
The table all the way through the year. That means it's heading in one direction, I reckon. Kobe wants to know who is in the mix for the Eagles at picks 1 and 2, provided they get it.
Yeah, provided they get it, and that's still TBC, absolutely. But Duffmer for me remains in a really strong position. Cooper Duff-Tytler and Willem Dersma, the Duffmer as I'm calling him. Yeah, Cooper Duff-Tytler finished his season over the weekend. He played a really good game a couple of weeks ago. Was inaccurate in front of goal, but I think what we saw from him as a forward option was another reminder of what he can do there. And this is the Riley Thilthorpe type of development, who did play a fair bit of ruck and then went forward in his draft year. And of course, Willem Dersma as well has been, a big game performer for the Gippsland Power and also for Vic Country. He kicked a couple of goals, played mainly forward at the game over the weekend in really tough conditions at Dandenong in the Coach Talent League. So I was there for that one, and he was still really threatening throughout that performance as a half forward, or deep forward. So those two, I think, have separated themselves in terms of the live pack.
Can I ask you a question though on that? So if they have just pick 1, if it's TBC on whether or not they get that compensation pick for Oscar Allen, are they TBC on CDT or TBC on WD?
I don't know. I don't know who would be number 1 if they just had one. Okay. I don't know about that. Yeah. But for me, I think both of those guys as a talent, as a talent package, look pretty impressive.
Duffmer, we love it. All right, Mark wants to know. There we go. One more time. Maybe actually a couple more. Let's fit it in a couple more times. Follow us on Instagram at Gettable. Mark wants to know, will West Coast land any AFL help? You reported on Monday that the Eagles had asked for an extra first round pick in addition to an extra pick that could be traded for a player.
Yeah, and that's been part of this process. So the other part to this is that the Eagles had raised and been keen on getting an exemption for their free agency pick not being diluted if they brought in another free agent. That's not going to happen because in the end that disadvantages the club that loses the free agent from being able to match the bid.
Yes.
So in the case of the Brandon Starcevich possibility, it wouldn't involve Brisbane, but it would affect them if it went that way. So that won't happen, but it was a fair ask. The alternative though is that if they get an end of first round pick or a pick that must be traded, they could then use that pick to go and send that deal to Brisbane, because it'd basically end up about the same pick anyway if it was an end of first round selection for Starcevich leaving. That all depends on Starcevich wanting to leave. Yeah. But West Coast, I think they'll get something. I don't know exactly what it is. There's some rookie access options, the NGA access as part of this proposal. They haven't asked for another pick at the top end of the draft, the very, very top end, but it's similar to what North Melbourne received a couple of years ago when they're in a similar point of their trajectory. I think West Coast 11 wins out of 91 games. Their past 91. North Melbourne had 12 wins out of their past 84 when they got that package. So that's on the table at the AFL now.
All right, Reese wants to know any update on Marcus Windhager, stay or go. I get the sense now this is entirely in St Kilda's hands. If they raise their offer, I reckon he stays.
Yeah, I think they've given St Kilda every chance, haven't they, to get the deal that he wants to get. It's gone from 2 to 4. It's about the money. This will take him to free agency. My sense is that it's been more likely to stay all the way through. I think that's been the starting point for him. Given the interest though from Melbourne, Essendon's been around there, and obviously North Melbourne as well. So that's all part of it. But I think that the reality is that the most likely option now is Windhager stays.
And Thomas, last one. What's the latest on the academy and father-son changes?
They got excited there. The submissions and the discussions have been coming thick and fast. I don't know if you've seen on afl.com.au. There's been a bit. Port Adelaide submission, yes. Carlton in talks, GWS has put in a paper as well. We're just reporting on what's out there. And Sydney will have its say as well, as will Essendon. The clubs aren't happy about this possibility. Grand final week may give some time to really get some heads around what this actually looks like. Again, a number of clubs wanted to just play out this new system with the new DVI. It hasn't been tested yet, so more to come, but certainly a huge talking point. People love talking about the father-sons aspect to this as well.
Yeah, that was Searchable. Once again, a big thank you to our friends at Google for their loyal support right the way through the year. Searchable, what a great idea.
It has a fantastic idea. And just speaking of loyal fans as well, one of our loyal fans heard me say last week that we need a song about Darcy Fort. Everyone needs a Darcy Fort. And we got something sent through for us from Billy. Let's have a listen.
No, every team needs him. He's in all recruiters' thoughts. Yeah, everybody needs a Darcy Fort. Yeah, everybody needs a Darcy Fort.
We might actually. There was a longer version, but we ran out of time to use the whole thing. There's some good lyrics in the lead up.
Do you think barely 12 months ago today, when Darcy Fort was sitting on the sidelines, ready for the preliminary final against Geelong to start, not knowing that he was going to be in the grand final team, that 12 months later he'd be a premiership player and have a song about him?
Well, I did think that. Yeah, I don't know about you. How did you not think that was going to happen?
Incredible. All right, massive thanks to everyone. There we go. One more time. Follow us on Instagram.
Close friends.
We're about to put up a post. You need to comment on it, tag it, mate. We'll add you all to our close friends list. You'll get behind the scenes access. You'll get some exclusives ahead of the trade period. That's what you'll see on our Instagram account. That's at Gettable. Big thanks to you, Cal. Big thanks to everyone in the control room. We will see you next week.